What if everything you thought you knew about Shen Yue and Dylan Wang's breakup was only the surface of something much deeper? What if the silence from their friends wasn't avoidance, but protection? The truth is unfolding now, and you need to hear it, because Miles Wei's shocking confession and the unexpected reactions from Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan are changing everything. It started quietly. No headlines, no statements, just a distance that fans could feel but couldn't explain. Shen Yue and Dylan Wang, the once inseparable stars who painted screens with chemistry and laughter, suddenly began avoiding each other in public appearances. Fans noticed. Reporters whispered. But neither of them spoke. Then, after months of silence, Miles Wei broke it, not through a press release, not through an interview, but during a live event no one expected would turn into one of the most talked about moments in CDrama history. The scene was set during an awards night in Beijing. Miles Wei was on stage, presenting an award for Best On-Screen Couple. The irony was painful, because everyone knew which couple wasn't together anymore. The crowd was filled with actors, directors, and fans who had followed the journey of Shen Yue and Dylan Wang for years. As Miles opened the envelope and paused before reading the winner's name, the air grew heavy. His eyes lifted briefly to where Shen Yue sat, quiet and composed, beside Wang Yibo. Across the hall, Dylan Wang sat alone, expression unreadable. Then Miles spoke. "Sometimes," he said, voice low but steady, "what we see on screen is only part of the story. The rest stays hidden in the silences between takes, in the moments when the cameras stop rolling." The audience froze. Cameras panned between Dylan and Shen Yue, both motionless. Miles smiled faintly, then continued, "The truth is, some connections are too real to fade, even when the world believes they've ended." Social media exploded. Within minutes, the clip had been replayed millions of times. Fans demanded answers. Was Miles hinting at something deeper between them? Was the breakup staged, or was there something left unspoken between the two stars who once defined modern C-drama romance? Backstage, things took an even more dramatic turn. Several crew members later reported that after leaving the stage, Miles was approached by Xiao Zhan, who looked both shocked and intrigued. Xiao Zhan reportedly asked him quietly, "Why now?" To which Miles only replied, "Because silence has gone too far." That moment sparked chaos behind the scenes. Wang Yibo, who had been sitting beside Shen Yue, was seen whispering something to her as she tried to hold back tears. Insiders claimed that she was trembling, unable to process what had just happened. Dylan, on the other hand, walked out before the event ended. Cameras caught the door closing behind him, the sound echoing louder than any words could. Later that night, an anonymous post began circulating on Weibo. It contained part of a conversation allegedly between Dylan Wang and Miles Wei. It read simply, "I thought protecting her meant letting go." The post went viral within an hour. Fans began piecing together theories that Miles had spoken up because Dylan had asked him to, as a way to finally let the truth breathe. Days later, Wang Yibo addressed the moment in an interview. When asked what he thought of Miles's speech, he paused, smiled faintly, and said, "Sometimes truth isn't comfortable, but it's necessary. They deserve peace, even if it's not with each other." His words, calm yet heavy, resonated across every platform. It was as if he had given permission for the world to stop speculating and start understanding. Xiao Zhan's reaction came next, and it was nothing short of emotional. In a late-night livestream, he spoke directly to his fans. "We all go through things that the world doesn't see. Shen Yue and Dylan are both good people. Miles did what he thought was right, and I think it was time someone did." His voice broke slightly at the end, and that moment alone went viral. Fans commented that Xiao Zhan's empathy revealed more than any official statement ever could. Meanwhile, Shen Yue remained silent for weeks. She didn't post, didn't appear at events, didn't even interact with fans online. The silence became deafening, until she finally reappeared, not on television, but in a quiet interview filmed in a dimly lit studio. Her eyes were soft, tired, yet strong. When asked about Miles's words, she smiled faintly and said, "He didn't lie. Some stories don't need a perfect ending. They just need honesty." The world held its breath as she continued, "Dylan and I didn't end because of anger. We ended because sometimes love means knowing when to stop before you hurt each other. He'll always have my respect. Always." That moment changed everything. The comments flooded in, fans crying, others expressing understanding, and some simply thanking her for her vulnerability. For once, the noise turned into quiet empathy. But it wasn't over yet. Dylan Wang's silence had lasted longer than anyone expected, until he finally broke it through a handwritten note shared on his official page. It read, "Time changes everything, but truth stays. I'll always be grateful for her, for what we shared, and for those who saw us beyond the screen. Thank you, Miles, for saying what I couldn't. No hashtags. No drama. Just sincerity." When that letter went live, Wang Yibo reposted it with 3 simple words, "Real love lasts." Xiao Zhan commented with a single heart emoji. And within minutes, the internet flooded with tributes, edits, and heartfelt messages celebrating not the breakup, but the honesty behind it. By the end of the week, the story had evolved beyond a headline. It became a symbol of what many called the most honest moment in CDrama history. Fans no longer argued about who was right or wrong. Instead, they admired the courage it took for all of them, Dylan, Shen Yue, Miles, Wang Yibo, and Xiao Zhan, to face truth in a world built on illusion. In the final twist, Miles Wei shared one more post, a single quote from an old poem. It read, "What breaks the silence is not noise, but truth whispered too long." That single line summed up everything. The moment Miles Wei's words reached the public, the world seemed to stop. Social media exploded. Fans dissected every syllable, every glance from Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan caught during the event. Millions of eyes were glued to every livestream, every clip, every post. Questions swirled, what really happened between Shen Yue and Dylan Wang? Why now? What did Miles Wei know that no one else dared to say? Backstage, the atmosphere was electric. Wang Yibo was pacing quietly, phone in hand, replaying Miles's words over and over. Xiao Zhan sat nearby, his face unreadable at first, then slowly hardened with determination. They had watched Shen Yue and Dylan grow close on set, their chemistry undeniable, yet both had seen the subtle tensions that no one else could perceive. Now, everything was laid bare, and their reactions were as real as the emotions that had been simmering behind closed doors. Shen Yue, meanwhile, had retreated to her dressing room. The room was dimly lit, the soft glow of vanity lights reflecting her contemplative expression. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her phone, scrolling through the flood of messages from fans, journalists, and even colleagues. Dylan's absence weighed heavily in the room. She knew what was coming, but hearing Miles Wei speak the truth still cut deeper than she had imagined. For Dylan, it was a night of solitude. The quiet of his apartment felt suffocating. Every memory of Shen Yue's smile, her laughter, the subtle touches they had shared, played in his mind like an endless loop. Then came the note. It was brief, handwritten, and simple, "The truth cannot stay silent forever. Thank you, Miles, for giving our story a voice." That single note ignited something unexpected. He realized that closure wasn't about being together, but about acknowledging the depth of what they once had, and letting go with honesty and respect. The next day, Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan were invited to a small, private gathering with Miles Wei. It was an intimate space, away from cameras, where they could speak freely. Xiao Zhan's voice broke first. "We all protected them, but maybe we were too quiet for too long," he admitted. Wang Yibo nodded, eyes fixed on the floor, then lifted to Miles. "Sometimes silence feels safer than truth. But truth is unstoppable." The 3 men shared a long, heavy silence, each reflecting on the fragile balance between friendship, love, and the public eye. It was clear that their reactions during the awards night had been genuine, shock, empathy, and a deep, unspoken understanding of the emotional weight Shen Yue and Dylan carried. Then came the pivotal moment. Shen Yue returned, stepping quietly into the room. Her presence immediately shifted the energy. She looked at Dylan, and though words failed her, her eyes conveyed everything: sorrow, gratitude, respect, and a subtle hint of lingering affection. Dylan's gaze softened. No one spoke immediately, for words felt insufficient to capture the complexity of their history. Miles Wei finally broke the silence. The world may judge, speculate, and assume. But you two know the truth in ways no one else ever will. That truth is yours alone. Protect it, honor it, and let it guide you. The air was thick with emotion. Tears welled in Shen Yue's eyes, and Dylan's jaw tightened as he struggled to contain his own emotions. Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan watched, both moved and solemn, understanding that this private reconciliation was as much about the past as it was about the future. Over the following days, the story spread in measured waves. Fans saw glimpses of the interactions, snippets of interviews, and carefully released statements. Shen Yue expressed her gratitude toward those who had supported her and Dylan throughout the years. Dylan acknowledged the love and memories that had shaped them both, and Miles Wei's words remained a focal point of the narrative. Truth and honesty, no matter how difficult, were always more powerful than silence. As the final chapter unfolded, Dylan and Shen Yue made one last public appearance together, not as a couple, but as two people who had shared a profound journey and emerged stronger for it. They walked onto a stage at a charity event, standing side by side. The applause was thunderous, not for romance restored, but for integrity, courage, and the respect they had shown each other and their fans. Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan stood in the crowd, their expressions a mix of pride and solemnity. They had witnessed the heartbreak, the tension, and the unspoken moments that defined Shen Yue and Dylan's relationship. And now, seeing the closure, they understood the weight of their own reactions that would forever be remembered by the fans who had watched, rewatched, and analyzed every glance, every sigh, every pause. The final image that went viral captured them all, Miles Wei standing tall, flanked by Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan, with Shen Yue and Dylan in the foreground, smile small but genuine. It was a photograph of reconciliation, truth, and emotional closure. In the end, the story was no longer about a breakup, a scandal, or a whispered confession. It was about courage, honesty, and the unbreakable bonds formed through shared experiences, even in the face of public scrutiny. And as the credits rolled on this chapter of their lives, Miles Wei posted one final message online. Truth is not always easy. It is never simple. But it is the only thing worth standing for. The fans, millions of them, didn't just read those words, they felt them. And for once, the world stopped speculating, because the story had been told, the emotions laid bare, and the truth finally set free. If this story moved you, don't just watch, become part of it. Subscribe now for more exclusive CDrama stories, emotional celebrity revelations, and behind-the-scenes moments you won't see anywhere else. Hit the bell so you never miss the truth that the world is too afraid to reveal.